Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Average Joe's MMA Podcast. Today, we are on episode, I believe it might be like 13. Man, we're just cranking right along. Tonight, we're going to be going over UFC 254. My bad, 254, headlined by Khabib versus Justin Gaethje. It's going to be a crazy match, as well as we got Whitaker versus Cannonier, another phenomenal matchup. We're all excited to see it. I believe it's going to be the main card is 2 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow because the fights are in Abu Dhabi. I think they're trying to appeal to a lot of like the Middle Eastern guys for the Khabib fight. It makes sense, kind of a weird time, but hey, still going to watch it, still going to enjoy it. Sesko, how you been? How you thinking these fights are going to go?
I'm great. So out of all the fights this year, like the one Khabib versus Justin Gaethje is my personal, number one hype fight of the entire year. I love watching Khabib perform. I even like that it's kind of in the middle of the day because Khabib's a mega star, by the way. Like in the United States, like we know him. Like anyone who knows mixed martial arts knows him. But martial arts and combat sports are huge throughout the world, particularly in like Asia and the Middle East. So Khabib is a massive mega star all over the world, which is why I think they're picking this more like kind of European or Middle Eastern friendly time. Yeah, I'm super excited for it. A lot of good fights on the card. I'm glad nothing fell through in this like super strange COVID times. I'm glad nothing happened to Justin or Khabib, or I know Khabib lost his father, and that's super unfortunate, but nothing is directly impeding on the fight happening, which I personally really appreciate that out of the champion, out of the organization.
Yeah, obviously it's very sad that he lost his father, but to be honest,
100%.
It almost makes the fight more interesting because now we get to see like how he comes back from this kind of hardship. He seems like the kind of guy that would actually thrive after an event like that. So I guess we'll see. But today we're going to be covering the main card. We're going to be discussing it a little bit. And just so you guys know, I think you'll be there as well, planning on doing a co-stream of the main event. So check us out on YouTube, Average Joe's MMA Podcast. We'll watch the fights together. It'll be a great time. But just hopping into the main card, we're going to be going down the main card for you today. Starting it off, we have Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion Cutelaba. So this fight, Cutelaba, yeah. So this fight was actually scheduled a few times. It fell through, and they had actually fought previously in their previous fights, and the fight was stopped really early. Ion Cutelaba was actually faking being injured. He was faking being wobbled, and the ref took it as him being injured and stopped the fight. He's like, no, I'm perfectly fine. It was all a strategy. So it was kind of unfortunate to see, but I'm glad they're running it back.
Yeah. It was he pulled out the old Roy Nelson strategy of pretending to be Rock and throwing it at the last second to get the knockout.
Yeah. Or Yoel or Derek Lewis, like a bunch of people, man. It's actually a pretty good strategy because sometimes when you feel a guy's injured, you're like, I have to capitalize right now. I don't want the fight to keep going longer. That guy has a chance to come back and like undo the damage he's done to himself. I can't let that happen. So I'm going to push the pace, and especially against a younger fighter. So I know that Ion Cutelaba he's only 26, so he was young. He might have been 25 when he fought the last fight, but Magomed's only 28. It's not like they're both veterans of the sport. So I think it actually was working the first time. I don't think he'll go back to that strategy, seeing as the results he got, but I'm sure the refs also saw the last fight and they're like, well, maybe I won't be stopping it if I see him wobbling a little bit on the feet.
Right. I do think I saw the exact video of him doing the wobbling and whatever. And I do agree that I think the referee stopped that a little early, but again, the referee's job is not to know 100% whether or not you're injured. It's if you look too compromised to continue, which is it's the line he was dancing by doing that wacky wobbly stuff.
Yeah.
So I hope they let him bang it out. While we're on the subject of faking, fainting injured to be to get an advantage. My favorite video I saw of that was it was two fat guys, and I can't remember what fight organization. It was probably one of the local rings, and a guy grabbed his heart. He's like, oh no, I'm going down. And he swung a haymaker and got a knockout. It was amazing.
Oh no, I'm going down. Fucking heart attack mid-fight. Oh no.
And then he got a knockout.
That's really funny. Oh my god. Yeah, so this fight, picking a winner though, I'm gonna go with Magomed. I think he was winning the last fight. I know that Ion did do this gimmick, and it might have actually worked, but I don't think it's gonna work again. And I personally think Magomed's probably the better fighter.
Yeah, I think I agree with that sentiment. Ion has a lot of very interesting He's got a lot of very interesting mind games. Like he screams at people at weigh-ins. He does all sorts of like funky stuff that's really exciting, kind of like a Michel Pereira kind of like entertainment factor to his fights. But I mean, it's exactly what we thought about Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira thrived when he toned it down a little bit, when he stuck to his fundamentals and only sprinkled in the flashy stuff. So I think if Ion Cutelaba does that, I think he has a very good chance of competing against anyone. But I personally don't think he's going to do it.
No, and if we're giving sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think he's gonna go in there. I think he's gonna start off like doing the wobble, just as a joke. You know what I mean? Just wobble on out of the ring.
Yeah, probably. So the average Joe seal of approval, I'm gonna give it to Eon though, just for what you said. He is exciting. He does yell at people's faces. I appreciate that, making the fight more exciting. I like that. You know, I'd like to see him win. I just don't know if he's actually going to win.
Yeah, I hope that because both of these guys have been preparing for each other for like a really long time. I think this is the third or fourth time the fight has been like actually scheduled to happen. So I hope to see them like a really good competition between these two fighters and their two fighting styles and stuff. Yeah, I'm personally, I have a hard time betting against any sort of Russian, particularly in like overseas, like, you know, not in America. So I'm going to give my seal of approval to Magomed. I think he's just a hammer. He's going to go work through everyone.
Every time I see that beard set up without the mustache, I'm like, oh no, here we go again.
So his he has the same title as Khabib. So Khabib is an international master of sport at Sambo, which is the same what he is. And Sambo is like a kind of like military developed martial arts, like grappling style the Soviet Union used. So he's got a lot of accolades, got a lot of fighting style. I think he's going to have it in him. I want to see a big, scary 205 Russian. I feel like that's where we're missing that like demographic, like a Vadim Nemkov from Bellator.
It's true, but we do have that Alexander Rakic dude.
Rakic, he's Serbian. That's close.
Rakic. Yeah, he's in the East somewhere. That's all I mean.
True.
But you're right. We do need a Russian in every single division.
So we're split on that one, but that's okay. I think it's going to be an amazing fight to start off the card with.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our next one.
The
next fight is a women's flyweight match against Lauren Murphy, a UFC call her not like a big veteran, but she has like at least 5 or 6 fights in the organization. She has she's coming off of a lot of wins. She hasn't lost since 2018, going against a relatively like unknown quantity in her opponent, Lilia Sharikova, another Russian. So I struggle to find anything on Lilia Sharikova. Her record's officially 8-1, and she looks like a Mexican boy.
She does. Oh my god.
She has a couple of knockouts due to punches. The rest of her fights are decisions. She won one by submission, so she's got a kind of a mixed tool set. But I imagine this will be a striking match between Lauren Murphy and Lilia here, because I know Lauren Murphy's I believe a boxing is what her like bread and butter is. While she does have jiu-jitsu and stuff in the black belt, I think she wants to stand and strike. So that's what I expect out of this match.
Yeah, I'm not expecting a finish either. Just based off Lauren Murphy's record, it seems like every once in a while there'll be a TKO, but mostly it's going to a decision, which is fine. But I don't have much to say. I just don't really know anything about this Lilia person.
Yeah, she's an unknown quantity. But I mean, what a lot of these like Russian fighters are, they'll just show up with like 22-1 records, and
but you have to remember someone like Kazmat. He was an unknown quantity just at the beginning of the summer. So it's like you could be a breakout superstar, especially if your record's this good going into your first big fight, you know?
Right.
Hey, she could be the future superstar. We'll see if that Mexican boy haircut will help her out.
So the average Joe seal approval for me goes to Mexican boy haircut 100%.
Oh, well, you got to. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? We're not playing games.
My mind is telling me to bet on the UFC veteran and Lauren Murphy. But again, like you said, it could be a Hazmat thing. And let's say Lilia does come out there and just put on a showstopper. You know what I mean? Just does something crazy, some kind of like spinning back kick, like the guy a few weeks ago. I can't remember his name. Buckley.
Oh, yeah. Joaquin Buckley.
I hope. I mean, like I said, I want every division to have some kind of crazy Russian person. This is the next one. We need women now.
Yeah, and that's specifically what I want to see. I want to see like a female superstar come up. It's been a long while since there's been like a true female phenom. Like we had the Ronda Rouseys. You have the on Jacek or whatever her name is. You have Rose Namajunas, who's pretty big star, but not like the biggest star. Amanda Nunes is probably the biggest star at the moment. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there's a level that even Amanda Nunes hasn't passed so far into the mainstream. Like if I talk to a random person on the street, they're probably not going to know Amanda Nunes, but they'll know Conor McGregor. They'll know maybe even Israel Adesanya, you know? So I want to see a female star like take it to that level. I hope to see that soon.
I think that's so unfortunate because I think like Amanda Nunes, just in terms of accolades, is like surpassed what most like 99% of men have done in the sport. She's not only won two titles in two divisions, she's defended in both divisions. I don't think anyone goes back to defend that much if you hold two belts. So I think Amanda Nunes deserves a lot of accolades, but I agree with you. So I worry do you think that maybe the traditional nature of a lot of like overseas places outside of the United States, particularly in like the Eastern Bloc and Russia, maybe like stifles the potential of like female athletes? Like the idea of a female Khabib doesn't make sense to me because I don't think like their culture would create like a kind of like, you know, like a father-daughter bond into like extreme sportsman kind of thing, like Khabib was made. And I worry that maybe that's why we don't see these like aside from like South America, right? South America has amazing fighters and North America does. But outside of that, like Jermaine Durandamines from Europe, but in that like Western part of the world, even then, I guess I'm just kind of like talking myself into a hole here, but like
no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I wonder if like the traditional structures of some other countries are preventing like us from seeing these like you know, give me a Hamzat that's a female, you know what I mean?
Where's Valentina Shevchenko from?
She's from a ex-Soviet republic, like one of the stands, Kyrgyzstan, I think.
I think you're right generally, but I feel like over the past 10, 20 years, maybe that started to shift. So hopefully moving forward, we'll start to see that. But I think historically, you're right. I think historically you wouldn't see a Khabib, like a female Khabib, come up because they weren't really training. They wouldn't have been asked to train, or they just wouldn't be giving the platform to actually do anything with it. So
right. And what I'm saying, that's unfortunate.
But I also see it. I see it like I see it getting better as time moves forward. I don't see that as something that's stagnated.
No, yeah, I completely agree. I think the modern era is absolutely opening that up. But I guess like what I want to see out of it is I want to see like a Khabib, like raised from a toddler to do this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like a parent said, you're gonna fight, and we're gonna make you fight, and then just get it all the way to the end like that. You know?
Yeah, fuck up your kid for our entertainment.
Khabib's a champion. He's such a good guy.
It's true, but like for all the Khabibs, for the one Khabib out there, there's like how many hundreds of just failures that have been disowned by their fathers because they couldn't. They lost too much.
Combat sport. I feel like that's the nature of combat sport. Look at boxers. Like some people don't know this. Like really, really high level boxers, like your Canelos, your Floyd Mayweathers, like they don't go to school like regular kids. Their parents pull them out, private school them on their own terms, and train them through their childhood into like an amateur career, into a professional career. Mm-hmm. These like super high level combat athletes, like they aren't like it's rare that someone comes into the sport as like a young adult, like a 20-year-old, and then streaks that high in combat sport against someone like Khabib, who's been wrestling how old is he? So he's like, I think he's 32. Khabib's 32 years old. He's been wrestling for 30 years. Let's be honest about that.
Yeah, but then you got someone like Justin Gaethje who did do wrestling, but he also did other sports. So, right. But then again, he did start very young. He started at like age 4 wrestling, so he has been doing it his whole life. Maybe we'll not.
Talk about that, yeah, when we get to it, because I have some opinions on that. I heard some very interesting like commentary on the matchup between those two.
Nice. Yeah, we'll definitely get to that. Card. Yep.
A middleweight match. Yep. Go ahead. Yeah, you get it.
Yeah. So up next we have Jacob Malkoun versus Phil Hawes.
Was this a last second fight? Because I don't. Like, when was this put together? Because I don't know. I know a couple fighters didn't make weight, and I know that the backups at Fight Island did make weight. So I'm wondering if this is one of those situations.
I'm not sure. I've seen Phil Hawes before, and he's like a devastating right hand. This dude's got like a lot of power. I didn't know the schedule going into the fights though. No.
Okay. So yeah, Phil Hawes. I mean, Phil Hawes is a pretty known quantity. He's a very, very good combatant. His opponent, Jacob Malkoun, is he's born in Australia. This is his first fight in the UFC ever. So he has 4 professional fights. It looks like a couple, like all of them are in Australia. An unknown quantity, so we don't know. He has decisions and TKOs.
Yeah. So I watched like a little bit of one of Jacob Malkoun's fights. He's not incredibly fast. I think his footwork's not the best. I think Phil Haas overpowers him and just KOs him early, probably. I think it's going to be a first round KO.
I know that. So I see that Jacob Malkoun is his camp is the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu camp, whatever Gracie representation they have in Australia, I imagine. So I think that maybe we could see some some grappling exchanges here that could go his way. That's another possibility.
Mm-hmm. But he's also willing to stand on the feet. When I watched his fight, I didn't even see him on the ground. So I mean, he's pretty young. He's 25, but if we're just looking at height alone, he's 5'8" versus the 6 foot Phil Haas.
Is he? I have him reported as 6'2" here on my the information that I found.
Are you just on like Google's UFC thing?
I'm on MMA Form Guide. I have like his data about his like.
Wait, Jacob Malkoun?
Yeah, Jacob Malkoun.
It literally says 5'8" on Google.
It has him registered as 6'2" here, so someone's lying. So I hope he's 5'8". I hope he comes out and he's just stumped.
What's the reach?
They don't have
shorter
his
than Conor
reach
McGregor
here. He's dinosaur arms, just short and stocky.
73 inches. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think he stands a chance. I think he's gonna be fed to the beast that is Phil Haas. Last time I saw Phil Haas, it was just he has this right overhand it's like a Tyrone Woodley. It's like you know it's coming, and he'll just knock you out, and that's just it. Like you just can't do anything about it.
I think like UFC and Fight Experience are going to make a big deal here because I know we're fighting in like the bubble and there isn't like the crowd, but the stature of the UFC organization and being your first time fighting there is still like it's not the crowd, but it's still like an overwhelming pressure. I think Phil Haas just looking at a picture of him is going to take on the newcomer and do pretty well.
And dude, this event is so big. They know this. Jacob Malkoun. First big fight, and it's like on the big, probably maybe the biggest pay-per-view potentially of all time, but definitely of like recent times. So it's like all the eyes are on you, and that's a lot of pressure. He's only 25 years old, so I think that's going to get to him.
Though, at the same time, though, I have a lot of faith in the UFC of like vetting fighters. Like if they're, I think Jacob is a backup fighter. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I think. It happened because like someone missed weight. I don't think the UFC is just going to find like some guy in the street. I think they had like strategically planned people to come take these backup fights if necessary. I want to give the UFC credit to picking Jacob Malkoun to be here and compete. I think it's going to be at least competitive, and I believe the UFC to give Phil Haas like an appropriate opponent. But I still do think Phil Haas is going to win.
I think that could be true, but I think the skill gap at the highest level, like even if you're up like a few percentage points better, you're just that much better that you'll be able to control the fight, be dominant. So I'm still predicting a first round KO, Phil Haas, right hit, right overhand, right hook, something like that. He also has my average Joe seal of approval. I think he's exciting. I'm looking forward to this one.
I'm gonna give both of them to Phil Haas. If you guys get to see the promo picture of Phil Haas, he looks terrifying.
Yeah,
big man.
Yeah. All right, cool. And then up to our to the next event, the one before the co-main and the main event, Alexander Volkov versus Walt Harris. So we got two veterans. Alexander Volkov, he's more of a technical, like kickboxing. He's trying to keep range from you. Very, very tall guy, 6'6". Walt Harris is more of a wrestler, right?
Yeah, Walt Harris's background is more in wrestling. He's a collegiate wrestler, I believe. He's had Walt Harris, like physically is very impressive, has an extraordinary physique. He's very strong. He's 6'5". He's a big man. He's had a lot of tragedy happen in the last couple of years. If you remember, Walt Harris was the gentleman who had his daughter kidnapped and was like later found deceased. So, I mean, I hate talking about these things, but like we have to because they affect the fight, don't they? Like whether or not he uses it as fuel to be stronger or it's like a mental fog, like it's going to affect the fight one way or another, I believe.
Yeah, I do too. Maybe enough time has passed. His last fight actually against Alistair Overeem, he put up a great show, and this was almost immediately after that event happened.
I remember that, right?
Yeah, I think he's still a pretty good fighter. I actually think he has a decent chance in this fight. If someone like Greg Hardy could go to the distance with Alexander Volkov, I don't see why Walt Harris couldn't take this fight.
So Alexander Volkov has got some like very interesting performances. So let's take it back to when I last saw him fight live was against Derek Lewis, where he effectively won the fight and lost in the last like second where he got knocked out.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
So I mean, I think in terms of striking, he can strike with any big guy that's like throwing heat. I think he has the technique and ability and the range to keep that away. I don't think that's like a new thing for him. He beat Fabricio Werdum, so he has at least some ability to do takedown defense and be able to like defend himself against a jiu-jitsu grappler. I don't know how well that translates to a wrestling style, but I imagine
because Curtis Blades did beat him
right
in his last fight. So I mean, if we're just talking wrestling base, you know, he did lose, but Curtis Blades is also a freaking tank who's 14-2. So
arguably the best wrestler in the heavyweight division at this point.
It's without Daniel Cormier. To me, it's definite.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I really don't know. I think like to me, this match is kind of like, so like when a fight happens, there's generally the fighter that sets the pace and the fighter that matches the pace. You know what I mean? You can be both. You can have success from both. You know what I mean? Like Israel Adesanya lets you set the pace and then beats you at your speed, like, you know, with counter punches and things like that. And I think Alexander Volkov is kind of the similar style where he will match what you have with his strikes and his counter striking and eventually pick you apart and slow you down until you can't keep up your pace.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Blades, on the other hand, I think will be the one leading the fight. And I think it's dependent on like what Curtis Blades decides to do and how he decides to take on this fight. I have a hard time imagining. Like,
you mean Walt Harris?
Walt Harris, my bad. No problem. I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah, I believe Walt Harris. I think if Walt Harris will be the one leading the speed of the fight. I think he'll be the one in the center of the ring, just dictating the pace. I think if Walt Harris can, I mean, if he commits to a really aggressive like wrestling attack game, even if he doesn't get Alexander Volkov to the ground, I think pushing a 6-7 frame against the cage and working him there, I think that's where you have perfect success in this fight. If Walt Harris can push this fight against the cage and keep it there, don't let Alexander Volkov use his range to like, you know, control you. I think Walt Harris takes it in that regard. But in a straight stand-up exchange, I think Alexander Volkov will win on strikes and on decision if they allow them, if Walt Harris tries to trade with him in that way.
I believe you're right. The reason I'm going to predict Walt Harris is because I don't see Alexander Volkov finishing Walt Harris. And I see what you said. Walt Harris is just going to push him against the fence and use his own height basically against him. So I see Walt Harris taking this fight.
I see it too. And you know what? It's what I hope he does. I know people don't like it's like spectatorly kind of negative, like to watch like the cage work and like seeing people pushed up against the cage, kind of the Kamaru Usman style. But that's such an effective fighting style, particularly like within the constraints of the UFC where there is a cage. Like that wouldn't work if there was like ropes in a ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's a beautiful adaptation to what the sport has become, and the fighters that are really good at cage work have extreme success.
And you can also do things to prevent it on the other side. Like it's not like you're just doomed if someone pushes you against the cage, unless they're just much stronger than you. And in which case, yeah, it's going to be difficult. Don't get pushed on the cage.
Right. It's like everything else. You know what I mean? Like that's come into mixed martial arts. Everyone has to adapt to this. Like somebody brought leg kicks into the game and broke everyone's legs with it. Now everyone either has to know how to do leg kicks or at the very least know how to defend it. I think cage work is sort of like against the cage work is kind of becoming that. Like if you don't know how to fight against the cage, you're going to lose there.
Talking about evolution, we mentioned it before, but with Joaquin Buckley doing that crazy, like the guy caught his kick, flipped up, kicked him in the face. That's an evolution of the sport. It started with you got head kicked. Oh shit, you can't really do much about it. Oh, he head kicks you. You can grab it and then trip him maybe. So that's good for you. You could stop the head kick. Then you head kick, and then the guys learn how to roll away after getting their head kick caught, so they don't get tripped and taken down. And now when you head kick, you could actually spinning KO them. It's just like continually the sport evolves in that fashion in all aspects, all regards, especially with cage work. And that's where like Khabib in the main fight, so much of his game is purely based off cage work, and that's really interesting to me because in Russia, I believe he was actually fighting in a ring before he got into the UFC.
He was,
which is insane because he adapted so quickly to the cage work and like used it to his advantage. So I'm with you. As more a hardcore fan, I enjoy seeing it. I think it's enjoyable to see the technical matchups. I'm going to give my average Joe seal of approval to Walt Harris. And I'm going to pick him to win this fight.
Same here. We agree on that one. Walt Harris all the way.
But let's be fair. It's going to be a competitive fight. I'm not saying it's going to be a wash.
Yeah, I don't think any fight, and again, not a knock against Jacob Malkoun. I don't think any fight here is going to be a wash, except maybe that one and maybe Lilia, just because they're unknown quantities. You know what I mean? It's so hard to tell. So let's move on to the co-main event. Here's a really exciting one against two fighters that I personally like. I really like their personalities, their dispositions, the ways they fight. Robert Whittaker, the ex-champion, against Jared Cannonier, the ex-heavyweight, coming down to middleweight.
Yeah. So
What you told me, this is what Roy Nelson should have been.
yeah, how true is that? Jared Cannonier, if you look at this guy, he just looks like a god. Like he looks like that Costa figure, that Yoel Romero, but even more so. Like I feel like he even looks bigger than him. They call him the Killer Gorilla. He has like these magic stones and he uses their energy. Like he's all about the heebie-jeebie stuff, which is, in my fighters, I want that. I want them to be fucking insane. I want them to like feel God's power, and they're just like, ah.
I mean, look at Jan Blachowicz like coming in with like the dead noose and
exactly
wrecking Dominic Reyes.
You need the spirits on your side to win fights, and he definitely does. He seems like a really genuine, nice. Both these guys, they seem outside of the ring just very genuinely nice guys, very competitive. Robert Whittaker, I always enjoy seeing. Robert Whittaker, I actually used to think he was older. He's only 29, and the dude was UFC champion, multiple time UFC champion. In my opinion, if he wins this fight, he gets another title shot, even though he got roasted by Israel Adesanya last time. And Jared Cannonier definitely gets the title shot if he wins this.
Right. I agree with you. I think the winner of this should be Israel's next opponent. I mean, I don't think there's really anyone else. Paulo's out of the game. I think Yoel's kind of like on the back burner. Kelvin Gastelum lost to a heel hook.
Kelvin Gastelum might be going to 170, actually.
He might be going, so that's welterweight that's going down. I mean, yeah. I feel like we can talk about Kelvin Gastelum any other time, but I feel like if you have like weight to lose, like fat and like, not to call him fat, but like that body shape, do what Jared Cannonier did. Like if you look at pictures of Jared Cannonier as a heavyweight, you go like, oh, that's a natural heavyweight. He doesn't have like that much weight to lose. Maybe he can get down to light heavyweight. You see like a before and after picture of him. It's stunning. It's scary how sculpted he made that body in order to fit this like middleweight size.
But with that said, Kelvin Gastelum was like the hardest fight for Israel Adesanya, who's just cleared out everyone else in the division, So it's like, wow, to compete at the highest level at 185, do you think he would just be that much better at 170? We could talk about it at another time, but
right. So, but back to the Robert Whittaker, Jared Cannonier. I like both these guys because, like what you said before, I feel like they're both extremely honest. Like I don't think there's any difference between their media personality and their true personality. They're both they love to talk to the fans. They're very thankful for the fame. Robert Whittaker loves cracking jokes with people. I think they're fantastic, and I think this matchup is going to be like. I love watching Khabib perform, but this might be the most entertaining fight of the night.
Yeah, it might be. Robert Whittaker, like he just gets put up against just beasts all the freaking time. Like right. Yoel 2 times, Adesanya, Cannonier. Cannonier is probably one of the strongest guys in the division. But Robert Whittaker is no slouch, and he's no stranger to facing guys that are incredibly strong. And he has the footwork. He has the speed advantage. So Jared Cannonier, he's gonna walk you down and almost stalk you. He's going to wait for the right moment. He's not going to attack. He's not going to be too aggressive, but he's going to stalk you. Robert Whittaker, I imagine, is going to be using his footwork, moving around the cage. He doesn't want to be caught by Jared Cannonier because he's just much stronger. He knows he has to stay to the outside, use more of his karate, maybe get some kicks in there. So overall, I personally think Robert Whittaker is the better fighter. My X factor is whether or not his chin can hold up. I know versus Darren Till in his last fight, his chin did hold up. In my opinion, he didn't get hit too hard or too many times for it to like really be shown though. And in his previous fights against Israel Adesanya and even against Yoel, like he got rocked so many times. So I'm hoping that time has healed that and like his ability to not get knocked out is just much better at this time. I'm really hoping for that, but I'm afraid that there's just going to be one big punch takes him out, and that's going to be the fight.
So my opinion on Robert Whittaker, and I guess his chin, is that so he fought Darren Till, who's a masterful striker. I think everyone admits that. Even Israel Adesanya calls the way that Darren Till fights is like a beautiful striking art. I think the fact that he didn't absorb many headshots and made get rocked, but I think that's a testament to how he maybe fought that fight. You know what I mean? To avoid that damage and not be put into positions like that. On the other hand, I also want to give more credit to Jared Cannonier. I watched him like dismantle Jack Hermanson. Like it wasn't him just walking forward and like, throwing haymakers and smashing him. Like it was it wasn't like super technical, but it was technical. It was measured. It was patient. It was perfect, right? Like to get the job done against Jared Hermanson. So It's going to be a very interesting fight. I think Robert Whittaker is going to come in there with the combinations. Robert Whittaker at one point, I think, had the most strikes per minute out of any like UFC athlete, or at least out of any middleweight. And I think Jared Cannonier is going to be like he's going to be doing that big shot, but he's going to be stalking it. He's going to be like aiming it more. It's going to be more measured than maybe like you see all these old videos of him in heavyweight, like with his head down, walking forward to people and talking. He's not going to do any of that. Like that's an old gone person. Like he's a sophisticated fighter who I think is going to put up a very, very good performance against.
Yeah, he's not a Francis Ngannou. He's not throwing wildly because he has power. He has power, but he's trying to be more technical. He's not the most technical. He doesn't have the best footwork, but he's able to compensate for that by being just so strong. Like you said, if you're getting KOs at heavyweight, like you're going to have a lot of that power carry over to like lower divisions, 185. It's been pretty incredible to see him perform at 185, seeing as he moved down 2 weight classes. You really don't see that very often. And we mentioned it at the beginning, like he is what Roy Nelson should have been. And I think that's a great sight to see. You literally flip a switch, get your health in order, get in shape, and you change your whole career.
Right. And again, like to go out to just to comment on what you said, he went down 2 weight classes. It's not like he went from like 155 to 135. No. He went from heavyweight 165 down to like what is middleweight 185. Yeah. So 265.
That's 80 pounds. My God.
Yeah. It's insane. It's a massive like bodily transformation. Like to me, he's an absolutely different fighter than he was before. So, man, this is a hard one to pick. So I think in my betting brain is to go with Robert Whittaker. I think Robert Whittaker he talked about having like even like mental issues where he like was losing his love for fighting around the time he fought Israel. And I think that showed in his fight. I think he took a lot of time off. He came back with an amazing show against Darren Till, showed the passion, showed the fire, showed the sense of humor again. You know, he was fiery. Yeah. So I think like that Robert Whittaker is going to win this fight. But my average Joe seal of approval is going to go to Jared Cannonier just because I really like his personality. And I think him versus Israel would be like a very like what's the word? Like a buddy feel good kind of like lead up to a fight. You know what I mean? I love seeing those like a Cormier versus Derek Lewis when they were just like cracking jokes with each other and, you know, having a good time. Yeah. I kind of want to see that. And I think Israel, I want to see more people fight him. Like I'd love to see Robert Whittaker try it again, but you also want to see like how special is he? How many different people and different styles can he like outmaneuver and overcome?
Yeah,
so that's how I fall in that.
And I'm gonna give the matchup to Robert Whittaker. Like I said, I think he's overall slightly better in almost every category, barring the chin. And I'm gonna give him the average Joe seal of approval because he's one of my favorite fighters personally. But I will say I would also love to see Jared Cannonier versus Israel Adesanya. Robert Whittaker, it's hard for me to believe he'll do that much better the next time he faces him. So that's kind of like it's not too exciting, but for this specific matchup, I just feel like Robert Whittaker is going to take it.
That's how I feel too. I'm excited. It's a very like exciting division because like usually when you have like a superstar like Israel at the top of the division kind of clears out. Like when John Jones was sitting at top of light heavyweight, eventually people just left the division. They're just like, well, I can't keep losing to you. Like,
well, it's also like how many times do you want to face the same person? And I feel like Israel Adesanya is a big legacy guy. Why face someone more than once if you don't have to? Doesn't help. You're not putting another name on your back. You're potentially losing to that guy. You know. So
who's gonna fight Paulo next? Is Paulo gonna
Jack
fight?
Hermanson.
What's been going on? Jack Hermanson. Yeah, dude, heel hook Paulo Acosta. That's what I want to see.
Oh my God. Yeah, Jack Hermanson, Yoel versus Paula again. Honestly, that would be great in my opinion. Because last time sorry.
Go ahead. You had an idea.
I just said I thought Yoel actually probably won that match. So it was very, very close, incredibly exciting. I'd love to see it again.
I'd love to see it as a spectator, but I feel like some part of me feels guilty. Like I don't want Yoel to be putting himself through that. You know, like what is he, 42 right now? He's going into 43. I remember George St. Pierre said like only crazy people fight in a cage at 40 years old, you know?
Well, he is crazy and he's willing to. He's still training. Like I don't think you give guys like what matchup. Like, I don't think you have to avoid certain matchups for guys just because they're older. Like if you want to fight at the top of the top, you just got to fight. He's ranked number 5 in the world. I know he's like 42, 43, but he's 5 in the world, which is insane. And I think he could still win. I
Well,
haven't
let's
seen
talk
him slow
about.
down.
Well, let's try to predict. Like, what would Yoel's path to a title shot look like? Would he? No, like I'm serious. Like, so would he fight the loser of Robert Whitaker versus Jacob Cannonier? Are they going to put Robert Whitaker in a cage with Yoel again? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like how does
No,
Yoel
they
get
can't
back
do
to that
that.
fight?
They can't. Like, as exciting as that was, I don't even think Robert Whitaker would take that fight. I think he'd be
Right,
like,
right.
dude, I can't. I need a career out of this. I can't just like lose my brains now.
His
So
entire career is fighting Yoel, basically.
yeah, at the top, which is just insane. Did he fought him for a title once or
Yeah,
twice?
I think twice. I think I know they fought twice. It probably was for a title
I
both
think
times.
Yoel like missed weight one time too.
Could be, could be. I mean, look at him. How's he making weight?
All right. Well, with that, I think we should just dive into the final fight, the one everyone's been waiting for and talking about. You think it's probably going to be the fight of the year. I do as well. I think it's going to be madness. We got Khabib Nurmagomedov. Ugh, I'm a little off today, and Justin Gaethje. So just initially, who do you think wins this? Just technically, stylistically, who wins this?
Okay, my betting brain is gonna go to Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's hard to bet against undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, like you haven't seen a guy lose. How can you say he's going to lose because of this? I mean, we haven't
Not even like
seen that.
lose. We've barely seen him stumble. We saw
Yeah.
Michael Johnson rock him once. We saw Connor like put up a reasonable defense before he got smothered. So like the aura of invincibility hasn't even been penetrated yet.
He hasn't bled in the ring, in the octagon.
Right.
He's 28-0 and has not bled in the UFC. Like, what the fuck?
And it's not like he's fighting slouches. You know what I mean? He beat Dustin Poirier. He beat Conor McGregor. He beat Dos Anjos. He tore through everyone they put in front of him to get to the top, and it took him a long time. Like if this was like a more like promotion oriented fighter, Khabib could have fought for the title like many years before like he did, but nobody wanted to fight him. Like he was an issue like to get fights for.
He has he's like 12 fights in the UFC, I believe.
Right, and because they kept like the top of the top did never wanted to fight him. And for a lot of reasons. Like look at how he fights. Like fighting Khabib is not like, oh, you know, you beat me, you submitted me, you knocked me out. No, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt real bad.
Yeah, so this fight, I know Justin Gaethje's like an incredible wrestler. He has incredible sprawling potential. So when he does get taken down, his ability to roll and to get up, regardless of the situation, is tremendous. He does end up giving his back up a lot, and I feel like Khabib's going to be the guy to capitalize on something like that when he gets up, because Justin Gaethje's, I'm going to get up by any means as soon as possible, and maybe he could slip in a choke or something, so I'm kind of worried about that. On the feet, you got to give it to Justin, though. I mean,
I think
he's just a tank. Khabib's not going to knock him out. Unless he's just completely exhausted by being wrestled for 5 rounds. I don't see that happening. But Justin has that X factor of he can KO Khabib pretty much at any moment if he catches him. Right. So I'm going to give my betting line like yours says Khabib's going to win this. How can you go against the guy that's 28-0? But in my heart of hearts, I'm like, Justin Gaethje, he's proven that he's a top level competitor. He's proven he has abilities other people don't have. He has the wrestling pedigree. He knows how to do wrestling defense. He has a game plan of staying off the cage, getting some leg kicks to compromise Khabib so he can't jump in and go for those takedowns as easily, because Khabib, what he does is he'll keep range and then shoot for like an incredibly quick takedown from a great distance. And he just needs a little part of you. He grabs a toe, you're done. Like he has your toe, he's going to make his way to every other part of your body, take you down, push you to the cage. Do you think he's going to be able to push Justin against the cage?
So the thing is, like with an opponent like Khabib, like the cage is kind of like a double-edged sword. It's like a weird thing. Like I know Khabib's super good at like when you put you against the cage, but that's kind of like the most defensible position. That's where you can actually get up. That's where you can like spread your legs and do the wall walk and like work your way back up to the feet generally, like what we've seen of his past opponents. Like I can't imagine anything worse than getting taken down in the middle of the cage with Khabib on top of you. Like he's not going to let you up. He's not going to let you move. He's not going to let you work to any position because I heard just talking about Khabib's fighting style. So the way their styles clash, I heard Brendan Schaub did an interview with like an American wrestler who talked about this and says that Justin Gaethje is an amazing wrestler, but his wrestling is American style wrestling. collegiate American wrestling. So what that means is like he's used to people like if they go for a dump like a single leg, they're gonna grab your leg and they're gonna charge forward until they get that takedown. You know what I mean? It's a very like aggressive like go kind of like style of wrestling. Khabib has like this weird like Russian sambo wrestling where it's like, oh, he'll go to a single leg, transition to a double leg, flip you, grab your arm and do like a sambo throw. He has like a very kind of eclectic style of wrestling where he'll very easily abandon one move and just move on to another one. Whereas like, so I think Justin Gaethje, like he has this amazing pedigree, but his pedigree might not be perfectly suited to what his opponent has to offer. So I think like, and again, when I say things about like this about Justin Gaethje, I don't want to take anything away from him. Comparing, it's like as I'm comparing him to Khabib, the undefeated like phenom. You know what I mean? Like everyone in my mind, at least as the rankings stand, are a little beneath him in some capacities, right?
Oh yeah, well, without a doubt. But I will say, in American style wrestling, being in the open floor, the open mat, that gives him the potential to do his like sprawling stuff. And he is really, he's only been on the ground in the UFC for 17 seconds. And that's both because people are afraid to do it and also because people have tried and he just gets up and they just can't stop it. And Habib's the master of making people not, it's like the unstoppable force versus the unbreakable object. It's like, we got these guys that are incredibly good at what they do, but they haven't been tested to their full potential because they haven't had an opponent that can push them that far. And this is the fight that proves that. But going where Khabib has an advantage is Khabib, he came from that other style of wrestling, but he's been training in America for 8 years against top collegiate athletes, against top American freestyle wrestlers. So he has both styles and he has experience with both styles. I'm not sure Justin does. I'm also not sure how proficient Justin Gaethje is on the ground, grappling, jiu-jitsu, like can he prevent submissions? Because he's never put in the position where he has to. So if you're not really put in positions where you have to defend against something, you're not going to spend too much time training it. He may be doing it for this camp specifically, but that takes a long time to develop. So, you know, we have a lot to learn from this, and I think we will learn a lot. I think if Khabib wins, it's going to be a 5-round fight. I believe he's going to grind him out. Justin Gaethje is very explosive. He uses energy explosively. But if Khabib just wears him down, he's not going to have any energy. He might have a great cardio gas tank for striking, but having a gas tank for wrestling and striking are just two completely different things.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I heard, and I can't remember where I heard this source, but somebody said that the difference between Khabib is Khabib has this like kind of natural understanding of how gravity and human balance work. Like that's what they said. Like when you, it's not that he's like so strong that he like overwhelms you. He's pushing you in a direction where like you physically cannot defend. That's how he wrestles. So like, I think it was Dos Anjos had him up against the cage and Dos Anjos went for a takedown against Khabib. Like at the end of the fight, Khabib grabbed his hand and just flipped his hip and tossed him onto the ground, like completely spun it around and reversed it. It's like stuff like that makes me think like you can get away. Like, but how many times can you get away against like somebody who can do that to you? Another thing with Khabib is like, this is just like from the press conferences and stuff that have been going on Fight Island. He says he's training and prepared to take down Justin 100 times this fight. So like, I mean, it's going to be. I
believe it too. His dad died. It's therapeutic to work out. I'm sure he was just grinding, and his gas tank is going to be incredible.
Oh, another thing, by the way, Khabib looks like he struggled to make weight a little bit. I don't know if you saw. Yeah. He like had to, and like we could be looking into it like a lot, considering like he got a hand to help up. He had to use the towel, but after that, like he did the celebration. He stepped off the scale by himself. Like it's not like he was Yoel, where Yoel had to be like carried to the scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think him weighing in early is good. I think the earlier you weigh in, the more time you have to refuel. So I don't think it's going to be too big of a factor. I also thought this is like completely out there. I was like, maybe he just wanted to like, maybe it was something for like his dad. He was just like, thank you so much. Like I made it. We're doing the fight. Because if he was overweight, he loses his belt no matter what, and that just ruins his legacy. So maybe there's a lot of things that could have contributed to it.
Yeah, and also like this entire like Fight Island experience, like this is his first time in his life fighting without his dad. So everything he's doing for the first time without his dad. His first weigh-in without his dad. His first like press conference without his dad. And all
well, I think his dad wasn't at many events. Like he wasn't even in the corner, but his dad was obviously alive and he could speak to him on the phone. Like he knew he was there supporting, watching. So Yeah, it's man, everyone says that he's just the kind of guy that he'll use it as motivation rather than having it just destroy him.
So I think like from what I've seen, and like I follow Habib a good bit. I feel like the death of his father is like a step of maturity for him.
Yeah.
Like have you heard? So they've been you know how like the sports journalists are. They prod the athletes to get them to say dumb stuff sometimes. Habib has been perfect, even more so. I think they asked him about I think Conor McGregor's mental health in one of the interviews. And like, did you hear his response? Like, did you see this thing?
Was it the Stephen A. Smith one where he's like, I don't want to talk about this shit?
No. It was very like Stephen A. Smith bugged him first, but no, he said something like another man's mental health is not like this is not the forum to discuss that. Like I'm paraphrasing for him. Like this is not the place to talk that. It's not good to speak about that. If he needs help, we should help him. But this is not the time or the place to really like discuss that or do anything about that. I can't speak to that. And I think he's showing like, I mean, that's a very, very mature like way of thinking. It's a very like
for a fighter. For a fighter, especially. Yeah.
He's showing like so many levels of like kindness and maturity and respect. Like, and I know people like kind of like only see him as like the Conor fight of like losing control and eagle kicking Dylan Dennis in the face after the fight and all that nonsense. But like to his core, like this is what he is. This is how he won his 28 fights leading up to Conor McGregor. Very respectfully, very calmly, very like almost kindly. You know
well, dude, he jumped out of the cage at like as a respect thing. He felt like he was disrespected, and where he comes from, you fight if someone disrespects you. So I think it still had to do with respect, just a different kind of respect.
Well, certainly, but I think he's past that. I think the death of his father, like think about it. As a child, like I don't want to call Habib a child by any means, like right, but he's like when you're in such a tight knit like unit with your family, and your dad's like always there. In some ways, he's still your dad. Like you still feel like your ability to like toss responsibility onto him somehow. You know what I mean? Like Habib's dad personally said, like this fight, like his actions after that fight were my fault. I should have disciplined him better. I should have taught him not to do that. Right. Like, so I think like now that that's gone, Habib is like taking that onus upon himself. I think he's becoming like a very
he's the patriarch now.
Yeah, he's a very well-adjusted, mature, patriarchal person who's willing to lead his family, his team, his country, any of that stuff. Habib's going to be in politics. This is Putin's vice president coming up. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happened with Fedor. Like Fedor became like a huge like political guy after his career. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be probably fight of the year. That's what I'm hoping for. It's either going to be fight of the year if Justin Gaethje makes it competitive, or Habib just runs through him like he does everyone else, and we're equally as impressed because this dude had his father died. He's still able to run through the toughest competition in the toughest division in the UFC.
And let's say we've been gushing on Habib. Let's give Justin Gaethje his props. He's 22-2 with 19 knockouts. That's insane. And one submission, with whatever. 19 knockouts.
And his goal is to make it as exciting as possible. Like he's a showman. He even says this. He's like, I'm here to put on a good show for you guys. That's the only reason. I'm not here just to win. That's not what it's all about. And in matter of fact, if I don't win, but I show all my skills and I do what I'm supposed to do, I'm not even going to be too upset. But I'm going to put it on a show regardless. That's why you should be excited to watch this fight.
Right. It's an amazing attitude against like an amazing, like I think all around an amazing person. He's had a kind of an interesting come up. Like he's from like the middle of nowhere, like I think Colorado. He said his parents drug tested him or wherever he's from. I know he lives
like Kansas or
Colorado now. Yeah. Like he said his parents had to take him like and his siblings like driving 2 hours to do every single thing. I think he's a very like humble, respectful, like hungry competitor. That's what I'm going to call Justin Gaethje. He's hungry. Whoever he's beaten, the moment he beat them, he goes, all right, next. Like I that's done. I did that. I need to get the next thing now.
He threw the interim belt on the ground. He's like, I don't want
multiple times. I think he tossed it aside at the press conference or whatever.
No, he did. He's like, I didn't earn this. I want the real one. Like, what is the? And I agree. It's like if you're fighting over a belt, you both having a belt that looks the same is just like that. Like, what is it? Yeah. You didn't like earn it. You didn't earn the UFC belt. The interim belt is just a gimmick to get more pay-per-view sales, unfortunately.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to his humbleness, his character as a person. I think like fighting is of course a physical thing, but every part of who you are gets shown in that fight. Like Habib's honesty and his like, determination is shown. Justin's like humbleness and his willingness to explode is like, very evident. So I think like the reason we care so much about this fight, no matter how it goes, is because of the caliber of both of these men. going
Yes,
into it.
absolutely. And with that, I think you got to go a little shortly. So I just want to dive into quickly the Leon Edwards situation. So for those who don't know, Leon Edwards he's ranked number 3. He was taken out of the rankings for inactivity because the UFC has been trying to book him and just nothing's been going through. As far as I know, the last fight they tried to book was the Kazmat fight. Kazmat Chimaev, the unranked superstar. He said no, got taken out of the rankings, and then I texted you a tweet after. He was like, Kazmat, basically, I want to fight. Like, who's this guy's manager? What is he doing? Does he actually want to fight? Like, what's going on here?
I mean, hey, just keep let's keep it real, man. These are cage fighters. These aren't like, well-mannered students. These are some of these guys have issues. And I'm not saying Leon Edwards has issues. I don't want to disparage him in any kind of way, but I understand it, whether it's like ego or pride or family stuff.
You have to have a big ego. Like, good luck being the best fighter in the world without like a tremendous ego.
Right. And I think like in some ways, like he is right in some capacity. I think he's on like an 8 or 9 fight win streak or something like that. He's been smashing his way through the division. I saw like I am like confused as like to what's going on, because I did see some like what's it called? Like somebody posted like from the UFC, they said like these are the fights that were offered to Leon Edwards. He was offered Tyron Woodley at some point. He was offered like a short notice fight against Usman. He was offered Colby Covington, you know what I mean? Like, and his thing is he's saying he wants to fight the top guys and they're not fighting him. So like, who else is there besides Colby and Usman really at the top anymore? Like, who are you?
It seems like he wants the title shot and they didn't give it to him. So he's like, but they did give it to him with Usman, but it was short notice.
Probably short notice, right?
But even if it was short notice, like, be ready. If you really want to face the top guys, be ready so you can face the top guys when the time comes.
Hey, 100%. Let's look at like arguably the best pound for pound ever, John Jones. He won his title off of a short notice, like last second change.
He seized the opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how the 10-year reign of John Jones started, from a short notice. It was supposed to be not Rampage Jackson, but someone else. It was one of John's teammates. They just had to step in. Oh, I can't remember who it was. It's not
Rashad Evans.
Rashad Evans. Yeah, it's like one of those names. Yeah. So you got to be ready, man. I think Leon Edwards is an excellent fighter by all measures. Look, I'm not involved in the business of the UFC. I'm not a ranking maker. I don't gamble on this. I'm a spectator, and if you want my love and my attention, you need to fight. Even
I haven't seen him since the 3-piece in the soda. That's what he's last known for.
It's dumb, because like the thing, and we're seeing it even now. Like, it doesn't matter how big of a cash cow you were then. It needs to be now. Like, look at so Conor McGregor and the UFC are in negotiations for the Dustin Poirier fight. The UFC is not putting up with any of Conor McGregor's nonsense, who brought in so much money to the organization before. They're like, no, like the fight's happening now, or fight's happening in January. The fight's happening at this weight class. We're not tolerating Conor at all.
Conor McGregor's records are like the gate records haven't been broken yet, but I think in Australia with Izzy they were broken, but his pay-per-view records are probably going to be broken tonight. Like, the sport moves on with or without you. The sport doesn't hold up for any one individual person. And I think he got this crazy ego after he fought the boxing match against Floyd Mayweather. I think it fucked him up. I think he was like, I'm just better than everyone now. And look
at
where,
a 9-figure check. Like, I mean, that give me some kind of ego. That make me feel some kind of way.
Exactly. But it's not going to be a good way for your fighting career if that's what you wanted. And he wants to fight at 170. And then he wants to face Khabib at 155. Like, this just makes no sense. That's not how that's not how it works.
So I told you what I think the 170 is about. I think he wants to catch Dustin Poirier on short notice while Dustin's light. I don't think he wants to give Dustin the time to like bulk up to a reasonable 170.
What about against Cowboy? Same thing.
I think, I don't know, man. I think like Conor's been, again, he's probably been drunk a lot. It's been a lot of like turmoil and stuff in his life. I feel like, even with all the weird like court cases and everything, I think he's a bit addled. I don't think he has like what's his manager going to tell him, right? He's a multi-millionaire, like
what's his coach even going to tell him?
Exactly. Like, they're going to tell him, you need to do this, and this. He goes, no, I'm going to go up to welterweight. I'm going to fight at 170. He's like, well, if you want to fight Khabib, Khabib's not at 170. So I'm going to fight both. I think it's kind of like that. I think he's like kind of eclectically just kind of like, it's all stemming from his refusal to let go of the Khabib fight. I think if he could just close that chapter of his life, he could be welterweight champion. You know what I mean? Go fight at 170. You have a great physique. Why not? Right?
True, but I also think part of it's he's just out of shape. Like being at 155, I just don't think he's kept up his body enough. He's too
I
big.
follow him on
He's too
Instagram.
big, but
It's
his
huge.
frame's not great for 170. He's a little short. Like if I'm thinking about matchups at 170, I don't see him beating a lot of the top guys.
Does he beat Masvidal?
Maybe beats Masvidal. I don't think he beats Usman. I don't think he beats Covington.
No, I don't think any. I think Covington's the world beater there.
I don't think he beats Wonderboy Thompson. I don't think he beats Leon Edwards. It's just like so many of the top guys. I'm like, the matchup wise just doesn't look great for him.
Yeah, and like I think
Nate Diaz, he could probably beat him, but like I don't know.
Who cares? He could beat
Exactly,
Diego
who
Sanchez
cares?
probably. But I think, yeah, that's what I think all of Conor McGregor's nonsense is just him trying to, like, I think he's trying to guarantee him winning the Dustin fight by coming in bigger than Dustin and smashing him. That's why he tried to make it like, we have to fight now, Dustin, like this tomorrow.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, the thing with Leon Edwards, man, it all comes back to like, I hope everything is okay in his life, to where like I hope there isn't anything detracting away from his like mentality or psychology that's causing him to not take these fights or to not perform. I hope that when he gets back in there eventually, like that he's not like a diminished version of himself because of this, like whatever. Again, all question marks. I have no idea, but whatever's been going on, like I hope that he gets past it the same or a better fighter and continues to compete for us. Like him versus
Hamzat.
His versus Hamzat. That would sell so many eyes are going to be on that. You know what I mean? Leon Edwards would become a household name if you
you absorb the hype of the guys you beat. That's why these fights, even if it's a challenge, it's a big opportunity, even for a top guy like him. So,
and that's what Leon needs. Leon has the record. He has the ranking. He has like
he had the ranking.
He had the ranking.
He will have it. It's probably a ploy by the UFC to get him to fight again, to be honest. I don't think they're actually like he's still a contender for the title. He's still up there.
Right. But yeah, that's what I think it is. He needs the hype. He needs to beat somebody. He needs to do something exciting. And that's what I hope that is. One more thing I want to talk about real quick, by the way. I saw this amazing, hilarious video. Have you seen videos of Khabib talking in the ring? Like when he talks while he fights?
Yeah, he's like, "You're finished. End now."
The scariest one was against Michael Johnson, where he was like hitting Michael on the ground and go, "Michael, like, you understand, I need the belt. Bam.
Yeah.
I need to win. I need to fight for the championship. Bam. Nothing personal. Bam."
It was just so dominant. Michael, yeah.
But yeah, that's what I think is. I hope there's like, I mean, it certainly will be because there's no crowd. I hope we can listen to Khabib like talk shit in there. I don't think he does it as like, I think it's like subconscious almost. Like he just has to get out what he's thinking.
I wonder. It was like I like against Conor McGregor, he definitely did against Michael Johnson, but Justin Gaethje doesn't talk any shit. So I wonder how much he'll actually talk. Maybe he will. I would love to see
he was
it.
talking like respectful shit to Michael Johnson. He loved Michael Johnson. Khabib had all the respect for him. He's like, "Mike, I'm sorry, Michael. I have to get the belt.
I have to do this. I have to smash."
Oh, that's what I hope. This is going to be such an exciting, good card. I'm so excited for it.
So with that, we've covered the entire main card. Thank you everyone for listening. We're super excited for the fights tomorrow. Join us on our Fight Companion, Average Joe's MMA podcast on YouTube. So look us up during the fights, 2 p.m. Eastern time. With that, thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thanks everyone. One final note: other noticeable fights are also on the prelim card. Steven Struve is fighting Tai Tuivasa, and Alex Cowboy Oliveira is fighting Shavkat Ramanov. So a fun Russian athlete. So I had two big names on the undercard in case you guys are tuning in early. A lot of exciting fights.
Alex Oliveira is just an insane person. He looks like a crazy homeless person, but he's great.
And he has like 11 kids. Gotta fight to feed him.
Exactly. Good for him. All right. With that, thank you guys. Later.
Thanks, everyone.